Good morning. Welcome to Conversations Here and Now. My name is Naresh. It's Wednesday, 5th of November. Thank you so much for being here with me. A couple of weeks ago, I spoke about how chronically underfunded Ontario hospitals are. And now, today, I'm going to look at how chronically underfunded Ontario's public education service is. We're talking about public schools and Catholic schools. I'm not talking about private schools. So the public schools and Catholic schools are chronically underfunded by the Ford government. So teachers across Ontario are reporting serious, ongoing challenges that affect classroom learning, safety, and staff well-being. These concerns reflect patterns seen across multiple boards and surveys. So from the onset, I'd like to say to all the parents that may be watching this, that as much as health is so important to us with our hospitals and doctors, education is just as important to us with our kids. And that goes right from kindergarten or before kindergarten, right up to grade 12. That's your kids that are being affected directly. Chronic underfunding of our education system affects the outcome of what future our kids will have. Some of them may go on to become, prime ministers, doctors, nurses, scientists, police officers. And this kind of chronic underfunding does not help any of them. It doesn't help any child that's in there. So I'm going to look at some points that I have managed to come up with. So the first point is absolutely the daily staff shortages in all of these schools. Unfilled absences leave students supervised by non-specialist staff or combined classes, disrupting learning and adding stress. Yes, classes get combined and then end up being massive classes. Sometimes they're combined in the same grade 2 and a grade 2 class get combined, or sometimes they're combined in a grade 2 and a grade 3 class gets combined. Absolutely unacceptable. None of the kids are learning that way. Point number 2, large class sizes and overcrowding. Overcrowded classes make individualized teaching and behavior management harder. And when you have 35 to 40 kids per class, maybe even more than 40, how are teachers expected to pay particular attention to each child? It's not going to happen, and that affects your child directly. That affects your kids directly. To all the parents, yes. Point number 3, special education under support. Students with exceptionalities. That's a bit of a word. Students with exceptionalities lack sufficient EAs and special assistance. Because of the chronic underfunding by the Ford government, those kids are overlooked. They fall through the cracks and they're not helped, and that's your kids. Point number 4, behavior and safety concerns. More frequent aggression and unsafe incidents create anxiety for staff and students. So when you have 30 to 40 kids, I'd say 30 might be good, 27 might be acceptable, but when you get up to 40 kids, how is a teacher, as I said before earlier, going to address each child, each kid, each student? Point number 5, chronic underfunding. Programs and supports are being cut due to stagnant or declining real per student funding. Because the Ford government is not funding our schools the way they should be funded, you end up getting programs that get cut because there's not enough teachers to teach them. So who suffers? It's the kids that suffer. Staff burnout and workload. Point number 6, excessive paperwork, supervision duties, and unpaid preparation time increase burnout. When a teacher arrives at a school in the morning to teach, and right away they start with 35 to 40 students, and that goes on all day, it makes it very, very difficult for them to do what they want to do, and that is to teach properly every student that is in there. Pay attention to every student that is in there. They end up having to stay after school to do some preparation work. They do preparation work on their off days. They do prepare reports and report cards on their weekends. Are they getting paid for this? No, they're not getting paid for this. And that leads to burnout. And again, that affects your kids in school. Student mental health crisis. Teachers are expected to manage complex mental health needs without adequate training or clinicians. The clinicians should be in every school, or failing that, every teacher should get better education on how to deal with student mental health crisis. And there are many, many students today that are suffering from mental health issues. And the teachers are not trained to handle this. Point number 8, shortages of EAs and specialists. Hiring challenges leave major gaps in coverage, especially in special education and French programs. There are many kids today that need special assistance. And with 40 students in class, a teacher is not able to give them that special assistance. There are fewer and fewer EAs and specialists today because of the chronic underfunding of our schools. So who ends up suffering? It's our kids who end up suffering. It's the students who end up suffering. Number 9, aging facilities and limited space. Old HVAC systems, portable classrooms, and repurposed gyms hinder learning conditions. When I went to school, I'm 61, and when I went to school, there was maybe a couple of portables at that time in my high school and the middle school. And now there's far more than a couple of portables. Again, this is happening because the funding issue, chronic underfunding of our school systems. Number 10, unequal supports across regions. Northern and rural boards face greater shortages and inequalities than urban areas. So if you are a teacher in Northern Ontario or a student in Northern Ontario, then you will have even less resources due to this chronic underfunding of our school systems. And there's other issues that come up. Okay, parents expect the teacher to raise the kid completely, to raise the student, to raise the child completely. And with 40 kids in class, they can't do that. And that's not the teacher's job. Parents have to make an effort to find out what the curriculum is and help out their kids at home. Some of the teachers have told me that there is constant changes to curriculum and very limited training on that, leading again to difficulties in classrooms for the students and for the teacher. Our report card system is outdated. It should be fixed so that the parents can understand it hasn't been changed. It should be, from the looks of it, it hasn't been changed since I went to school. It needs to be fully upgraded and modernized so parents can get a better idea of how their kids are doing. It's not the teacher's job to upgrade that. Teachers only have 40 minutes of planning to mark, deal with phone calls, parents requesting daily updates. Teachers don't have the time. And why is it that they don't have the time? Because there's not enough teachers because of underfunding. There's not enough classrooms. So classrooms are stretched to the max limits. They're past the max limits, actually. Right? When you end up having 40 students in a class, 35 to 40 students, that's too many. That's far. It shouldn't exceed 20, in my view. It shouldn't exceed more than 20 to maybe 22, 23 max. The teacher then has a chance to get to know every child, know what their problems are, know what their issues are, and is able to help out. But if you have up to 40 students in each class, then that's not going to work. That poor teacher is just running around just to try and cover the curriculum that they need to cover, and that's all they can do. And where is the money being spent by the Ford government? Ontario Place renovations. So far, the cost is at $2.3 billion. Is the Ontario Place renovations really needed? That money could be spent better for our schools. 2.3 billion would go a long ways towards helping schools. Highway 413. The cost is going to be over 10 billion. It's being put as much as up to 30 billion. 10 to 30 billion dollars. Think about how much that would help out our schools. I'm going to cover Highway 413 on a later podcast because in my view, it's not even needed. In a lot of people's view, it's not even needed. That's 10 to 30 billion dollars that could go into our school system. It could also go into our medical systems as well, right? And the tunnel that Ford is absolutely set on building will cost 60 to 100 billion dollars. Like, this is getting out of hand. Why is Premier Ford spending money on these kind of projects that cost so much with very little return, whereas these funds could be spent better for our schools, for our hospitals? Today I'm addressing schools. Our students need the funding. Our schools need the funding. Our students are our future. If our students are not well taught, then we damage our future. So it is critical. It is of critical importance, that our schools get funded properly. And now parents might ask, well, what can we do about it? Well, first of all, you should try and find out what exactly is going on in your schools. Speak to your teachers about what the issues are. And once you find out what the issues are, speak to your MPP at Queen's Park. Their phone numbers are all available. Find out a lot of people don't even know who their MPP is. Find out who your MPP is and call them at Queen's Park. Phone numbers are all available. Tell them this is unacceptable. The conditions of our schools, of our classes, of our education is absolutely unacceptable. This will not produce future leaders. And if Canada is to move forward, if Canada is to have a strong economy, if Canada is to be a strong presence in the world, as they need to be, our education system has to be top-notch. And it will not be top-notch by the way that the Ford government is treating it. So I've got a statement that I found on Facebook by the Ontario Autism Coalition, Karen Boshti, and this basically sums it all up. The truth is that the Ontario's education crisis has been rooted in chronic underfunding since 2018. And when did the Ford government come in power? 2018. So it's been 7 years. By law, school boards must submit balanced budgets by the end of June. With provincial funding failing to meet rising costs, boards have been forced to make cuts year after year. These cuts may be invisible to parents, but they are painfully clear to educators, education workers, and students who face overcrowded classrooms, rising violence, worsening mental health challenges, and staff burnout. Publicly funded education is hanging by a thread. This is one of the best statements that I have seen that describes what current school system in Ontario is going through. It is critical that this be addressed, but unfortunately, this wasn't addressed in the election that just went by. So here we are. Now we're stuck with this until the next election, which I think will be around 2028 and 2029. People need to ask their MPPs and their MPs as well questions. Demand answers to this. Monies are being spent right now on projects that are not needed. Our medical systems, hospitals, and our schools should not be underfunded. Our students, our kids, our children are our future, are Canada's future. They cannot be treated in this manner. Our school systems cannot be treated in this manner. If you like what I said today, please leave it in the comments. If you disagree with it, which I can't see why you would disagree with it because it's such a critical matter, please leave it in the comments. Please like. If you like the video, please like, please share, and please subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps me out with the algorithms. Thank you very much. See you next time.